everyone, guess what? I got married. I am officially married. I got married 2 weeks ago now. I got married August 30th and today is September 9th. So that is almost 2 weeks ago. Wow, time flies. First of all, I want to say that I really had all the intention in the world to document more of the planning process, but yeah, it was a lot. Planning a wedding, I knew it was going to be a lot, but it was like actually a lot. So if you want a video on just the planning part and how I came up with the timeline and everything, let me know because I can do a whole video on that. Otherwise, I've included the chapters below, so feel free to jump around to whatever part you need. Let's get right into it because I hate long intros and this has pretty much been a very long intro. Sorry. We threw an 80 guest wedding. I'm considering this a micro wedding because if we actually invited everyone that we wanted to invite, it would have been easily like 200 guests, and that was just not in our budget. Like I said, we had 80 guests at our wedding, and that included me and Jordy. So we actually had 78 guests, and we also had a no kid policy. Except the two flower girls, which was my niece and one of Jordy's little cousins. They were so adorable, but besides them, we had no kids at our wedding. I actually wrote some notes in here because I knew I was going to forget if I didn't write things down. So our wedding included this beautiful venue in Brooklyn, which I will get into in 1 second, a 7-hour open bar, a cocktail hour with appetizers, a buffet dinner, a sheet cake plus coffee station, a 7-hour a DJ for 7 hours, a photographer for 6 hours, a day of coordinator for the entire day. So all of that I just mentioned, which were the biggest fees of the wedding, came out to a beautiful $30,375. Okay, so let me walk you through our wedding planning process. We were engaged in August of 2024, and we thought about, I would like to think, every option. We thought about a backyard wedding, eloping at City Hall, having like a small intimate dinner with just family. We thought about having like no wedding at all because it was a lot of money. We were actually stuck between having a backyard wedding and a wedding at a venue. And after doing some research, I was like, okay, maybe the backyard wedding route is not the best option. I got this ridiculous quote for $52,000. Sir, at that point, I could just go and rent a venue and have it inside and not have to worry about anything. I did get one very, very reasonable quote that was $1,700 from Long Island Tent Rentals. But after actually thinking of the process of doing a backyard wedding, having to redo my parents' backyard, the whole bathroom situation, and also having like 80 to 100 guests at someone's home just felt very overwhelming. So we were like, you know what, let's not even go down that road. Let's just go and find a venue. And that's when we seriously started to look at venues. So we looked at all of these venues here. And I already made a video on this, so go check that out. But after doing our research and crunching down the numbers, we decided to go with Carroll Hall in Brooklyn. It's so funny because when you're walking towards the venue, it's like in the center of all of these old warehouses, lofts, and you're kind of thinking like, where the hell am I? But then as soon as you walk into the venue, you're like, oh, this is like really nice. And I love that feeling. But the space is small. We had 80 guests and I felt like that was pushing it. Trying to arrange the table situation was kind of a headache. I feel like maybe a 50, 60 guest wedding would have been perfect, but 80, it was a little tight, but besides that, it was fine. Basically, when you sign your contract, you are getting 12 to 15 hours of venue access. You get their basic wedding furniture package, which includes 100 white folding chairs, 10 6-inch round tables, 15 6-foot tables, 8 cocktail tables, and 2 mobile bars. You also get access to their bar packages, and that is an additional fee on top of just the venue fee, and the bar you pay per person depending on which option you pick. So the venue fee and the bar fee are two separate things. Depending on what day and month you book the venue, the price will change, and then depending on what bar package you choose, that price will change. So I got married in August on a Saturday, so I was in tier 2 right here, and that's $9,500. I also paid an extra $500 to use their lounge room, which was like the bridal suite room. And then I chose their classic bar package, which is $59 per person. I actually had to also add coronas because that was not included in their beer selection, and my family, that's the only thing they drink, so I had to include that for them. And then we did a 5 payment plan. The first one was in September, then it was in January, March, May, and August. And doing it that way didn't feel that bad. It actually felt very doable. And then here's just a very, very high level of the timeline for that day. What is not shown here though is that at 11 a.m., Jordy, the day of coordinator, and other people got to the venue at 11 a.m. to start setting up. Also, I forgot to mention, if you do go with this venue, you are responsible for the setup and the breakdown, so keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk about the vendors because I loved my vendors. They were all great people, and don't worry, I will link their Instagrams below. So I only had 4 vendors, and that was the caterer, Molly, the day of coordinator, Joy, the photographer, Ala, and then the DJ Sky. Okay, so I mentioned that I had a cocktail hour, and then during this cocktail hour, we had a grazing table, and everyone told me how beautiful and delicious this appetizer grazing table was. I was getting FOMO that I wasn't a guest at my wedding. I saw pictures of the setup and it looked beautiful. We did have a small plate in the bridal suite waiting for us, but it's not the same thing enjoying it, you know, in the moment with everyone. So I did get a little bit of FOMO and not being there for that, but it's fine because everyone else enjoyed it, and that's what I cared about the most. And then for dinner, we had a buffet, and some people are very against doing that at a wedding. I honestly didn't even think twice about it. First of all, it's a lot more affordable than doing a service table setup, and second, my venue wasn't big at all. I also had a separate section for the kitchen, food area, so it wasn't like it was out in the open and it was a table and everyone like lined up, and it was kind of hidden. It was kind of like in the back corner, so I liked that. Also, the venue was not big. People walked there fine. It was fine. Everyone got their food and sat down, and if walk-in is such a turn off, then bring your own food to a wedding. I don't know what to say. And then that same caterer also did our sheet cake. So I did buy a fake cake off of Etsy. It was a 4-tiered cake and it was beautiful. We only used it for pictures. There was a very small like cutout section where Molly and her team put like a real slice of cake in there. So we like cut the cake and we had a little picture moment and it was cute, but then the real stuff was in the kitchen getting cut by her team, and then they passed it out to everyone. And then we also had a very small coffee station at our wedding. I love having coffee at weddings, and I know that family members also drink coffee, so we had it. It wasn't that much, so it was fine. All of that, a glazing table, a buffet, a sheet cake, a coffee station, and then her 2 servers that did help pick things up and just kind of like, you know, do service stuff, came out to $8,993. And trust me, that was the most affordable thing that we could find for what we wanted. And now for the DJ. The DJ was so much fun. I think at one point everyone was dancing, but as good as he was, he did mess up 2 times, which actually ended up being in our favor. But in the moment, I was a little upset, but I got over it real quick. And I haven't told him this, so if you're watching this, DJ Sky, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It actually ended up being a blessing in disguise. It was when we were doing our first dance. We had 2 songs, Can't Take My Eyes Off You, and then the Bad Bunny song, Baile Inolvidable. Yeah, that's how you say it. Baile Inolvidable by Bad Bunny. So we get through the first song, perfect, fine, amazing. And then the second song starts. And we were supposed to dance all of it, but I think like 5-10 seconds in, he invites everyone to the dance floor. And of course, everyone comes, and then like the party starts and we all just keep dancing.
Welcome to Go Dance with the couple. Let's go!
And it was fine, but we had practiced so long. Well, not so long, just like a week leading up to the wedding, but we practiced really hard. We watched YouTube videos on how to dance salsa. We even like got into small arguments. We made sure to get those turns right. And so I was ready to get out there and dance the best salsa my family has ever seen me dance. But I forgot that my dress had these like little sleeves hanging, and then also I just couldn't move in my dress. It was a little too long. I had to use my hands to pick up the dress so that I can actually walk, let alone turn. It was extremely hard to dance in my wedding dress that day. So it actually ended up working out that we didn't have to do the full salsa song, because I don't know how that would have came out. I'm sure it would have came out fine and maybe a little silly, but honest to God, I could not move. I could not dance. I danced. I definitely danced, but it was hard to dance. Oh, and his fee was $1,700, which I think was actually really good. Now for the photographer. I found my photographer on TikTok. I was literally just scrolling through my For You page, and one of her videos came up. I loved her photography. I think in that moment when I had found her, she was just starting off in like the wedding space, and I was like, perfect. I need someone affordable, someone to just capture little moments of my wedding. But she turned out to be so good. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how much she'll charge now, but when I booked her, we paid 6 hours for $2,400. And if you know New York City photographer pricing, that's really, really good. But I am sure she's going to raise her prices because she is so good, and I've seen her do a lot more engagement photo shoots and weddings since then. So I don't even know if this price is still valid today. And for the day of coordinator, her name is Joy, and she was honestly such a joy to work with. I mean, this woman loves her job, and you can tell that from the moment that you meet her. Like, she's all about love and happiness and making sure that your day is perfect and that you don't have to worry about a single thing. Truly could not recommend her enough. And then at the end of the day, I tipped all of my vendors, which I didn't realize was so controversial. But then I went on TikTok and on Reddit, and apparently a lot of people think that you shouldn't tip your vendors. People think that you should tip your vendors. I wanted to tip my vendors. I honestly thought it was like a normal thing that people did. So learning that people think that you shouldn't was news to me, but I loved all my vendors. They did a great job, and so honestly, I tipped what I could. I tipped about 15%. around there, maybe a little bit less, but I tipped something. It wasn't a full 20%. I couldn't afford it, but I tipped something, and I also included a nice little note in all of their envelopes, and literally they all came back and like took a picture of their notes and said, wow, I love the note, thank you, and whatever. So that was a nice little touch. I am now almost 2 weeks post my wedding, and looking back at all the planning and all the expenses, we don't regret throwing this wedding. We don't regret spending the money that we spent, because it was such a beautiful moment having my family, his family, our friends in one room together, just enjoying, celebrating love that day. It was so nice, and I don't think that's ever going to happen again. It was such a beautiful day. So if you're thinking about throwing a wedding and you're stuck on whether it's worth it or not worth spending all that money, I think it's worth it. I think it was so worth it. During the planning process, when you're like really in it, you're just like, ugh, why did I do this? Why am I paying so much money? But honestly, like when you're at your wedding day, you don't even think about that stuff. You are just in the moment, having fun with everyone that you love. And yeah, I think throw your wedding and have a fun day, because you will never do that again. Unless you get married again, then you'll do it again. But if you're lucky, you'll only do it once. And then I mentioned that we did a lot of the things ourselves, like florals, signage. What else is there to do? Decorations. I think we did everything. We did everything ourselves. So if you want a video on that, let me know below and I'm happy to do it. Okay, I think I covered everything, but if you have any questions, leave a comment below or DM me on Instagram. If not, then I'll see you next week for a brand new video. Peace.